This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Corey Brada here, giving you my Week 2 picks. It is Friday night here. I'm recording this a little bit later than I wanted to, but if you could see my television screen, not Kansas and Coastal Carolina. Actually, U.S. Open tennis fifth set, Novak Djokovic just closed the door on Alexander Zverev. So apologize for the bit of a delay here on these picks, but want to run through some of the bigger games in college football. Obviously, the Cy-Hawk game. I think by most accounts, people consider this game to be the biggest game in college football this week. But let's run through the different matchups throughout the week, and we'll give our picks. First of all, Ohio State-Oregon. Everybody talking about this game. That's the other big game besides Iowa State. Of course, Ohio State, number 3 in the country, struggled for a while in the first half against Minnesota last week, but C.J. Stroud really got it together. He's a young quarterback. I think the Buckeyes will be just fine. I do think Oregon will cover. They struggled last week against Fresno. I think that wakes up the Ducks. I think they cover the 14.5-point spread. At least, again, these are spreads at last check. So earlier in the week, could they change? Have they changed? Potentially, but we just don't have enough time in the day to continuously keep up to date with these spreads. I do have Ohio State winning this game, though. Oregon covering. Michigan-Washington. This was a game that was on our radar for College Game Day for quite some time, but the Wolverines, not the commodity they used to be, and certainly Washington's loss last week to Montana did not help things. I've got Michigan covering in this game, and this is a 6.5-point spread, so I think it's a good win for Harbaugh and a good win for the Maize and Blue. How about Miami and Appalachian State? Kind of an interesting game. Miami coming off the trouncing against Alabama. Did not fare well against the Crimson Tide, but who does? I've got Miami covering here. This could be a trap game. Of course, we know the history with Appalachian State football and kind of surprising teams, but I do have Miami winning and Miami covering. Tennessee-Pittsburgh. Interesting game. Very even here. The home field advantage, kind of the difference right now in the money line. 3.5-point favorites, the Pittsburgh Panthers. I will take Tennessee to win. So straight up, taking them against the spread, taking them straight up. I think the Volunteers get it done in Pittsburgh. How about Cal and TCU? I like the Horned Frogs. This is a big spread, 11-point spread. The Horned Frogs, I'm wearing my TCU purple this evening. I've got the Horned Frogs to win, and I've got the Horned Frogs covering. This took me a while. This one was kind of back and forth. That spread's tough, but I definitely have the Horned Frogs straight up. How about Mississippi State playing host to North Carolina State? I've got the Wolfpack. I've got them winning straight up, and I've got them covering the 2.5-point spread. How about Texas and Arkansas? I like the Longhorns here. Of course, all eyes on Texas here because this is a future SEC showdown once Texas is officially in the SEC. I've got the Longhorns to take down Arkansas and cover that 6.5-point spread. How about Mark Stoops and Kentucky taking on Missouri with an SEC battle here? 5-point favorites. This is an interesting game because Mizzou is one of those Big 12 leftover teams that really hasn't fared well in the SEC. But I don't think that's any indictment on Oklahoma or Texas. I think they'll favor just fine. At least Oklahoma will. I've got UK. That's Kentucky winning this game and covering the 5-point spread. BYU and Utah. This one's a bit of a surprise to some of our listeners. I've got BYU winning. They are the underdogs by 7 at last check. And again, kind of an interesting game because BYU, it was just announced that they are officially joining, or excuse me, I should not say that. It was officially announced that the Big 12 is extending an invitation to BYU. What does that mean? Of course, we assume it means they will accept that invitation and join the Big 12. But, of course, that's not official yet. So we'll wait and see on that one. But I have got BYU winning over Utah. All right, let's move on down the list here. We're going to swing over to Texas A&M. Texas A&M plays at Colorado, and a big line here. I don't have any faith in Colorado, or I should say a big spread. I've got A&M covering the 16.5-point spread and taking down the Colorado Buffalo. How about USC and Stanford? Pac-12 battle here, and another big spread. Stanford is down still. I like the Trojans to win. I do think it's a little bit too big of a spread for me to take USC against the spreads. How about some Big Ten games? Illinois taking on Virginia. Should be an interesting one. Illinois coming off that loss to Texas San Antonio last week, and Virginia is favored by 10.5 here. It's an early game. It's a 10 a.m. Central game. Very strange to see any games start before 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. 9/11, the 20th anniversary, of course, changing some kickoff times, which we understand. I'll take Virginia in this one. I'll take Illinois to cover. I think they play a close game. I have a lot of faith in Brett Bielema. It was just week 2 last week of his tenure at Illinois. I've got Virginia, but Illinois against the spread. Youngstown State, Michigan State. Should be kind of interesting. Michigan State coming off that huge game from Kenneth Walker last week against Northwestern. I've got Michigan State straight up and Michigan State covering. It's a big spread, 27-point spread against Youngstown State. I will take the Spartans. Miami, Ohio, and Minnesota. Minnesota's going to have to figure out life without Mohamed Ibrahim. I will take Minnesota straight up and against the spread, also 11 a.m. And we didn't give some of the times earlier. Of course, check your local listings. This is a Big Ten and Iowa podcast, so that's why we're kind of giving more information here as far as kickoff times for these games. Indiana State, Northwestern at 11 a.m. as well. 28-point spread's a big one. They should win by 28, but I was not impressed by what I saw last week against Michigan State, I should say. I will take the Purple People Eaters there, the Wildcats, to win, but Indiana State against the spread in a bit of a surprise. Rutgers and Syracuse. This should be a fun one. Both teams won last week. This is a 1 p.m. game Central Time. Rutgers favored by 2. I like them straight up and against the spread. I will take the Scarlet Knights. How about Purdue and UConn? Boy, UConn is a mess right now. Purdue favored by 34.5. Have to get our good friend Don Patterson's opinion on this tomorrow, but I've got Purdue winning. That's a big spread. I'll take UConn against the spread, but holy cow. I don't know the last time I've seen a spread with 2 unranked teams this big. 34.5 in favor of Purdue, but I will take UConn against the spread because it's just such a huge spread. How about number 11, Penn State and Ball State, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. 22-point favorites, the Nittany Lions. I'll take Penn State against the spread and straight up. Nebraska, Buffalo, 2:30 p.m. Nebraska favored by 14. I like them winning straight up. I like this number, 14. I'll take Buffalo against the spread. Eastern Michigan and number 18, Wisconsin, 6 p.m. Central Time on FS1. I'll take the Badgers here straight up and against the spread. They're favored by 26. Idaho, Indiana. Indiana 32.5-point favorites here. Certainly like Indiana to win the game. It's a big spread. I will take the Hoosiers, though, to bounce back in a big way and cover. Howard and Maryland, 6:30 p.m. Also BTN. Maryland, the 48-point favorites. I just don't know how you take anybody to cover. I mean, that's an insane number. I've got Howard covering the spread, but I got Maryland straight up. And that is it for the Big Ten games. We went through a few of them earlier. And again, lots of great games, but none bigger than Iowa and Iowa State. And if you caught our season, or I should say our season predictions, but also our weekly podcast, which was recapping the Iowa-Indiana game and previewing Iowa-Iowa State, you will have heard that I am picking the Iowa State Cyclones to win that game. I am picking Iowa against the spread. So Iowa State wins it straight up 21-20. 1-point win. Iowa covers the spread. I hope I'm wrong on the straight up pick. But again, going to be a rockin' show tomorrow morning, ESPN College Game Day. If you're watching this late Friday night or early Saturday morning, follow us over at the Voice of College Football. We are going to be live broadcasting from Jack Trice Stadium and around the game day set, around the tailgating. We'll get you live coverage all morning long. The festivities outside Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, and of course at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, ABC. It's the Cyhawk Series presented by Iowa Corn inside Jack Trice Stadium in Ames. So it's going to be a great one. Iowa State tomorrow, and this is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Enjoy college football on Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.